Hey everyone, Captain Leon here, and today we have a little bit of trailer trauma. The only problem is, I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, before we get going here, let me just say the servicing and maintenance of your trailer is paramount. We take our trailers for granted, but they need love too. It is, after all, what does float your boat. Alright, so let me explain the situation at hand, and I'll give you a minute to just admire the shine on the hull on this 2014 boat. But we started to notice some problems. You can see that there's little grease splatters that were showing up on the frame of the trailer, little black dots. I also noticed them on the back of the license plate itself, and I'm like, where's this coming from? Now, I know I routinely grease my bearing buddies, and I've demonstrated that in videos, but it turns out I might have been overfilling them, and some grease may have escaped out of the seal in the rear. When we pulled off the wheel, it was not pretty. We had a lot of grease on the inside of the rim, and it looked like this may be time to change our hub assembly just to start fresh. This is not an expensive project, nor a very involved project, but after a little bit of research, we're ready to tackle it. Alright, so let's take a look at what we got here just to prepare for our job. For starters, I got myself a brand new lock and lube manual grease gun. Everything I've been reading lately says that the pneumatic gun that I've been using for not only filling the bearing buddies but also the intermediate bearing is not recommended. They really say to use a manual grease gun. I went out and got myself the lock and lube unit. Pretty neat, you know, it has this device here where you just press it and it connects and disconnects to the Zerk fitting on its own. Pretty easy stuff. You don't have to hold it on there so hard, and seems to be working pretty well. Now we also went out and got ourselves some brand new bearing buddies. You know what? I'm a little nuts. I mean, I'm sure what's on there is fine, but these new ones came out with the blue wear ring indicator. This has been part of my problem, is I think I've been overfilling these. You're really only supposed to fill it up just till there's 3 pounds per square inch of grease pressure within the hub. That's enough to keep the water out. And I've been overdoing it. So now with this blue ring, when we start to fill up this bearing buddy and the pressure moves this ring out, you know, it's going to come out till it's just flush with the end of the unit here, and then you know to stop. It's really just about 1/8 of an inch, and that'll be fine. And then here we have some Loctite. Loctite, you might be saying, what do we need Loctite for? Well, we'll get to that in a little bit. Here we have a spindle sleeve, a stainless steel spindle sleeve. I know, I never would have thought it either, but this is a component on the Shorelander trailers, and you're going to see why we're going to need this in a little bit. And now we got ourselves a brand new hub assembly by C.E. Smith. So I purchased this from West Marine. It turns out they had them on sale. I think I only paid about $45 for this. And it's just the easiest way to do it. Now, you know, you want to make sure that you get one that has, of course, the correct size for your trailer. The Shorelander trailer here with the, you know, with the spindle axle, it's a tapered spindle. So you have 1 3/8 in the rear, and then it tapers down to 1 1/16 in the front. You know, seems to be exactly what we need. Here it is here. It's a complete assembly. All right, so you have your bearings and your race are already in there. What's kind of neat, and I'll show you on the back, is it even has a Zerk fitting on the back. I experimented with my new grease gun there just to take a peek at how that works, where you could start to fill up the hub from the rear and the grease will push through. But this self-contained unit, it's got a brand new grease seal. okay? It's got everything inside. You know, for the 40-50 bucks, it's just worth it. And here's our spindle sleeve, and this is going to fit inside this grease seal, and the grease seal is going to ride on this sleeve, okay? And we'll get to that in a little bit. So hopefully that is everything we're going to need to do this job. You know, you could take a look at the setup. You know, I mean, you have your axle nut, your washer, your bearing, your race, you have the hub, you know, the other race, the other bearing, and the grease seal, and everything you need is here. All right, let's have at it. Hopefully we don't screw this up.
Quick word about safety before you pull a wheel off of a trailer or any vehicle. Please make sure you not only have a jack supporting the weight of the vehicle, but a safety jack stand as a backup as well.
Alright, so here you can see we have our hub assembly, and it spins pretty freely. Doesn't seem to have too much wrong with it. You know, we're going to now replace this, and we're going to start by removing the cap on our bearing buddy. And now we're going to knock off the actual bearing buddy that's here with a rubber mallet. You just want to walk it out. And there you have it. Alright, so yeah, I know my leaf springs are a little rusty. That's, you know, par for the course. Boating in salt water for 7 years. We'll change them eventually. I think that will be maybe another year or two. You know, we still have time. These leaves haven't started separating from one another. It seems to be just, you know, basically surface rust. So now back to the hub. You know, as you can see, and let me just zoom in a little bit for you. You know, we could see all of the grease. There we go. You know, that's accumulated here. I recommend a lot of paper towels and perhaps a plastic bag to put them in, just so you can get a sense here. There we go. All right. So, yeah, hon?
I'm going.
All right, I'll see you in a little bit. Okay. That's the bride. She's heading out. All right, so we got an axle nut. Now take notice, right? You can see that the axle nut is actually moving a little bit right there. Surprisingly, you don't make these terribly tight, and we got the cotter pin right here holding it in. And you know, and you can see that it was pretty well greased. So now what we're going to do is going to remove that cotter pin. So, you know, it's never recommended to use the same cotter pin over again. You should always start with a new cotter pin. Figured it's a good time to mention that. By the way, did I mention I have no idea what I'm doing? There is some truth to that. I've never done this before, so, you know, take everything with a grain of salt. So yeah, once again, you can see the nut's a little loose, and we'll begin the process of removing the axle nut. Alright, so you're going to want to maintain this washer, and you can notice it's a little tapered here, so, you know, we want to have the widest part, you know, up against the, you know, the bearing, and then the nut will fit right on there like that. Alright, so here we go. We're going to remove the hub assembly. This should just pull right off. Get ourselves a piece of paper towel here. And we're just going to pull this right off. And there you have it. There's the hub assembly. Now, let's just take note here of what we got going on. We got some issues, and this is pretty important stuff. So, for starters, this little piece right here is the broken remnants of the spindle sleeve. This is not good. And this right here, as you can see, is the spindle sleeve. And I'm going to see if I can pull it out here for you. Alright, you can see this is the hub here, and this is the spindle sleeve. You could see the spindle sleeve was in here. This is the other half of the broken part, and you can see where the grease seal rode along this sleeve. There's a couple of little wear marks right on it. So now you say to yourself, well, what is with this spindle sleeve? What's the story with that? So basically, let me explain it like this. All right. So the axle itself has this very smooth section here with which a grease seal would normally ride upon, but Shorelander trailers felt that it would be better to have replaceable spindle sleeves. So this is a stainless steel sleeve, and the way that this works is this fits over and pushes on right onto the end of the spindle axle itself. It creates a very smooth surface for the grease seal to ride upon, and it does its best to not let grease push out. Now, in all honesty, this was a mess, and I cleaned this up prior to beginning the making of this video. There was grease all over the place here and all underneath in the wheel well area. But now you can see why we need the new spindle sleeve, and why this broke, I have no idea, but now we're going to start anew. Okay, so what I want to do is clean up this axle spindle as best as I can, because we are going to be putting the new spindle sleeve on here, and that's where the Loctite comes in. I know that seems a little unusual, but that is the directions that have been provided to me directly from the Shorelander Trailer Company. So we're going to follow what they say. I figured I'd try a little AutoZone brake cleaner. Brake cleaner has a lot of purposes and functions. Alright, we want to keep that nice and clean for the spindle seal, or sleeve, I should say, to adhere to with the Loctite. Okay, so here is our Loctite, and here is our new spindle sleeve. So let's just take a look at the dry fit. Dry fit seems to be pretty good. The idea of the Loctite is, according to Shorelander, they do not want this sleeve spinning on here, okay? It's supposed to stay firmly affixed, and then the grease seal is supposed to slide around it. I don't know. I mean, I would think with the pressures of the high-speed spinning, eventually this thing might break loose. It seems to be pretty easy to spin right here, just like this. I don't know if the Loctite's going to do it, but we'll give it a shot. Best we can do. So here we go. guess we'll rotate it a bit to ensure even coverage all around. Couldn't hurt, right? And give it a little wipe down. Okay, it says it takes 30 minutes for it to initially set up and fully cured within 24 hours. I don't know, do we wait? Let's see. Good morning. It's actually the next day. Yeah, I just decided, you know what? My dad always says, haste makes waste. Captain Ken even agreed, saying, let it sit overnight.
Hey, Captain Leon, whatever floats your boat. My recommendation, let it sit overnight.
Just to let that Loctite just set up, you know, because we don't want that stainless steel sleeve to spin on the spindle bearing. It's got to kind of adhere to it. So here we are the next morning, and we're getting ready to now move forward. Alright gang, here we go. We're ready to do the assembly, and first thing we need to do is apply some lubricant just so everything's coated before we put the new hub on. Pardon me as I lube my shaft.
Sorry, you can't skip this ad, but if you want to continue to receive these educational and entertaining videos, simply subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to never miss another update.
Alright, so now I'm going to press the new hub assembly on. As you can see, some grease has already been injected in here. What I do want to do though is I want to take some of this grease and smear it around the grease seal so that it slides nicely over the spindle shaft, and particularly over that spindle sleeve, that we adhered on there. Okay, so we are ready to press this on. Let's see how we do. So we got it pressed on pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to put the washer on. Remember, it's got a little coning on it here. It's tapered toward the front, so we'll get that in place. Yeah, this is a messy job. There we go. She's starting to compress a little bit more. Okay, so we have the hub firmly pushed on. What I'm doing here is I'm just adjusting the tension on the axle nut. So the idea here is you want to rotate it, right? And then you want to apply a little pressure, rotate it, apply a little pressure, rotate it, apply a little pressure. Again, just remember, I have no idea what I'm doing. No, I say that with some sense of seriousness because I've never done this before. So, I've just followed what I've seen others do on YouTube and so forth, and so far so good. But the idea of tightening the axle nut a little bit at a time is just, really seating the bearings against the race. It's pretty smooth right now. It's nice and tight. We don't want to leave it this tight. We're just basically seating it at this point, if that makes any sense. I don't want to overdo it. You know, when I took this apart from Yamaha, this nut I was able to just turn with my hand. So clearly, I should say Shorelander, right? They're the ones who made the trailer. So clearly it doesn't have to be that tight. It's basically as tight as it can be where there's no play, no wobble, and the nut still was a little loose. I think I'm happy right there. Alright, so here is the new cotter pin, and we're going to put it right in through the hole here. Okay, the cotter pin is through. We now want to bend up our tabs of the cotter pin. Go. Just want to make sure it's not going to make contact with the bearing buddy. Okay, so now this particular bearing has a Zerk fitting. I don't know if you can see this in the back here. So we're going to start to fill it from the back a little bit. Can't hurt. Well, I think we'll leave it as is. I'm not going to put any more grease through the back there. I think what we'll do is we'll put the bearing buddy on now, and we'll start to fill it up through the front. Alright, so here's the new bearing buddy, stainless steel, and this has the blue indicator ring, which when that blue ring comes out 1/8 of an inch, we know that we're done. This is just a press fit application. Okay, this just gets press fit right onto the front, and we should be good to go. Alright, so now we are going to apply grease to the bearing buddy. Let me just say a word here about grease for a moment. Not all grease is the same. So what I've learned is there's basically a lithium-based grease, and there's also a calcium sulfonate grease. And you're really not supposed to mix them. West Marine has that red trailer wheel bearing grease. I come to understand that's a lithium-based, but C.E. Smith, the maker of these hubs, they recommend a calcium sulfonate grease. That's what already came pre-packed in the hub. So what you add to it should be also a calcium sulfonate grease, not necessarily the same brand, but the same chemical composition. And that was also the case when I spoke to Shorelander. What they say that their hubs that come stock, you know, what they would have in it. So I went out and I got Lubrimatic trailer wheel bearing grease. It's a calcium sulfonate composition, and I think we're going to be just fine with that. So we now attach our lock and lube connection, and we'll begin to pump this up. And again, what we're waiting for is to see this blue indicator ring start to move. There it comes. And at this point, as you can see, I can push this in and out. But I would say we're done. So what we have here is pressure, obviously, inside. We can see it pushing back out again. If you have a bearing buddy that does not have the blue indicator ring, no worries. You know, same premise. As soon as you start to see the Zerk fitting kind of moving out, that's when you want to stop. The idea and the theory is that there'll be now 3 psi, 3 pounds per square inch of pressure within the bearing of grease. That's enough to keep water from infiltrating into the bearing. the internal pressure of just 3 psi. So I think we're good now. We got our brand new Bearing Buddy bras. Always a good idea to push them on. That's it. Good to go, gang. I'll give you an idea what this looks like from the back. Alright, so that's a wrap. I think we're calling it a day. I think we did a halfway decent job. We'll find out soon enough, right? We're going to take this thing for a ride and see how it performs. We're going to, of course, recheck it and see if, in fact, it needs a little bit more grease. We'll figure that out. But other than that, that's the basics. Hope you enjoyed it. So remember, keep tabs on the back of your rim. Make sure that grease seal has not let grease out and that you're in good shape. You know, your trailer is real important. Hey, after all, it is what floats your boat. So signing off now, Captain Leon has earned himself the right to relax. Later.